In previous tutorial, we modeled a complex aerial view with dry materials. So the question now is, what does it take to convert the existing site to wet scene? Okay, so let's get back to 3ds Max. Let's see. So we have our cityscape setups from the previous tutorial. In our case, we would be mostly configuring the park and bike lane road texture. So we have the road texture already set up, and we're using dry material preset from Cityscape. So now we need to convert that into a wet scene. Okay, so in order to see what's the difference between dry and wet material, we can simply pick the dry paint screen, drag it from here, doesn't matter in this case, and we can do the same thing for the wet material. We drag it from here. Okay, so let's go into the wet material. So you can see that the wet material has a very different configuration. It has a reflection glossiness parameter, which has a complex noise maps that gives you the random reflection levels so that the puddles are more reflective and areas that have less water are less reflective. Okay, so we can see that the diffuse map is using the composite map, which consists of multiple layers and masks. And we know that road texture only configures composite maps, which can be instanced multiple channels of material. So let's look at the dry material setup. So dry material has a completely different settings. It doesn't have a map inside of reflection glossiness, because usually dry materials are more or less similar reflection values everywhere. But see that the composite map, that same composite map, is used in diffuse channel and as well as bump map channel. So when you already have a road texture set up, what you really have is a composite map, which is configured with spline masks. And if you happen to have a dry scene with a dry material, if you want to change your material settings and change it either to wet material or winter material, all you have to do is to take your composite map and insert it into new material. So let's look here. So we see that the composite map in this wet material is connected to diffuse map, and also it goes into that mix map. So what we can do is we can take another composite map, the one that's already configured in road texture tool, and plug it into a new material. Okay, and now let's plug it into second channel as well, which is here. Okay, now the one composite map is reused in completely different material. So you will still maintain all the parameters and settings in your road texture, but the material will be different. Okay, so let's demonstrate that on real materials now. Let's pick the curved area. So we know that our park material 5 is this one. Now we can select children as well as this material, and let's move it here just to clearly see what's going on. So as you can see, we have our composite map, one that was set up by Cityscape. So we don't want to mess up with that. What we want to do, we want to change parameters of this material, but we don't want to do that manually. So what we can do is we can go to any of the paint, wet, or maybe we want concrete, some kind of wet concrete material would work. So we click the material and we drag and drop it from here to the material editor. In this case, it doesn't matter because we're just copying material. So let's make it copy. And this is our material. Okay, so now all we have to do is to our composite map. Okay, so now all we have to do is to swap our composite map. Okay, so this is a composite map that we need. And so this is the material that we're going to abandon. Let's remove everything. Let's remove here from pop map. And let's bring this map here. And let's plug this instead of this composite map. Let's plug it here. And we also have to plug it into diffuse map. We don't need this anymore. You can just delete that. Okay, our wet material that's already configured, and we have plugged in our composite map that was already configured in our road texture in a Park Cityscape Pro helper. So now we need to just plug this material into right channel of the math sub-object material, which is here, the park. So let's take this material and let's plug it into the park. Okay. And obviously we can just delete that old material. We don't need it anymore. Okay. So that's pretty much it. We can do the same thing for bike lane. So let's take the same concrete material, put it somewhere here. Let's look at our bike lane material. We select children. Also select the material. We can see that the existing composite map that's nicely configured in Cityscape is plugged in diffuse map and map map. So again, we can abandon that material. We don't need it anymore. And we can plug it into that fresh preset material that we just loaded from the library. Okay. So where's the main composite map? That's right here. So instead of this composite map, we need to plug in this one. Okay, so let's replace the diffuse channel first. Then we'll replace mix map. And we can delete that old composite map. Okay, this is all done, and now again we need to plug it in the bike lane math sub-object material channel, and we can delete that old material. Okay, so that's it. Now let's do a test render. And this is going to be the result. Now that's a VR image. So if we zoom in, you can see the nice wet pavement. So this is using the same road texture. The Cityscape parameters hasn't really changed at all. We didn't generate anything. We just took the existing configured composite maps and instanced it in different material settings. Obviously, it's way easier to set up wet material or winter material from scratch, but if you already have an existing setup, that's the easiest way to reconfigure the whole site. So we can switch to the same scene but dry version. And this is again the wet version.